Andrea Linares is with us, too, from Fox Noticias. We're going to talk about what's happening in Venezuela, possibly in Cuba, and the big meeting today. With the Colombia president at the White House. But before we get to that, let's get to the big three.
Number 3.
Vogue giving Gavin Newsom a glossy spread profile ahead of his new memoir. The first line in the piece says this, quote, "Let's get this out of the way. He is embarrassingly handsome. His hair seasoned with silver, at ease with his own eminence as he delivers his final State of the State address."
There you go. When will it stop? Yet another glowing, fact-free feature on California's failing governor, Gavin Newsom. We have the reality check on what the GOP is learning from their failure in Texas.
Number 2.
Well, we're talking about that. We have ships heading to Iran right now, big ones, biggest and the best. And we have talks going on with Iran. We'll see how it all works out.
Yeah, don't fool yourself, Mr. President. Iran is not doing a deal with you on missiles, on terror, on nukes. Though I even talk about them in the Middle East. Maybe we're buying some time to get the THAAD missile system in place and the Patriots are ready to go for Israel and our allies. I, for one, say the only way to move forward would be to protect the people from this evil regime who've been attacking us since 1979.
Number 1.
The body cam has been the best weapon for good cops out there. Now you just go right to the video, boom, done, over. It's more protection for the police than I think it is for the population.
Yeah. Smile, you're on body cam as ICE agents get one camera per officer beginning in Minneapolis. We'll see if this is part of it ending the government shutdown as they renegotiate portions of the Department of Homeland Security. But let's talk about what's happening today at the Oval Office. If I was to tell you, Andrea, that the president of Colombia was going to be in the Oval Office in 3 weeks ago, you probably would have told me what?
I would say that's a big no-no. I would not believe it because we've been seeing such a...
He's been trolling President Trump.
Right. You know, he's an outspoken critic of President Donald Trump. We've gone all of a sudden from clashing to dialogue. Can you believe this? And according to diplomatic sources, believe it or not, it was U.S. Senator for Kentucky Rand Paul that was also instrumental in helping them have this conversation. And also very important, that moment today marks 1 month since Nicolás Maduro and Celia Flores were captured in Venezuela. And I think that was a big warning and wake up call for Gustavo Petro, kind of like, let me just tone down a bit and have this conversation.
And what do you think it'll be like today? Because this guy could give us an idea who he is.
Well, he's quite a character, like I said, very outspoken. And this is honestly, this past year was extremely a very tense relationship between Colombia and the United States. And let me remind people that we've always had typically a very good relationship with Cuba, and it's the tensest it's been in about 3 decades, correct? So for it to have just fallen apart this way was very worrisome. But if they want to be smart about this whole thing, this should be the focus. They need to focus on drug trafficking and securing the border between Colombia and Venezuela.
How bad is it now?
It's very bad. We're talking about the fact that they share about 1,300 miles, Venezuela and Colombia.
Most people are just trying to get out of Venezuela, right?
Right. But
anymore?
There's a security issue for Colombia here, and that's why he should be smart about this. Petro, safety and stability in Venezuela is of interest to Colombia. Why? Because it's the country that has received the most amount of Venezuelan migrants. So if you can achieve a safe and free Venezuela, you can possibly have those Venezuelan migrants head back to their country. Then you also have to tend to the security issue. If you have narcos and drug traffickers, running the show, that's a problem when you're trying to attract foreign investment and you're trying to open up the oil industry again in Venezuela, because they can be targeted by these armies.
When he was friendly with Maduro, right? Was
Yes.
Petro? So he lost his buddy. He's hanging out in a Brooklyn prison right now. So he doesn't want the same fate. And I don't think we're going to go around capturing, we don't have an indictment or a bounty on this guy's head.
It's a different scenario.
It's a different scenario entirely. But we want to get a situation where, once again, the Central and South America is China and Russia and Hezbollah and Iran free. So this works in our interest to have this conversation. So the way I understand it, the coke is made and trafficked in Colombia and passes through Venezuela, a lot of times in those boats, A lot of it heads off our shores through the Caribbean and over to Europe.
And Nicaragua.
Through Nicaragua, too.
And Nicaragua.
Oh, Nicaragua, TDA.
That's still operating there, yes.
Right. Is it operating in Colombia, too?
Yes.
Colombia and Venezuela. So they have a lot to talk about today. It's not just going to be friends. You think they're going to open up with cameras? And would you like to see that?
I would love to see that. I don't think they will, but I would love to see that moment. And hopefully it does not turn into a negative conversation, and hopefully it doesn't turn into this, crazy show. Some people and some experts say, well, what happens if it turns out to be a meeting like the one that we saw the first time around with Zelensky and Trump? Hopefully it's not that.
Today, the Venezuelan interim president, her name is Delcy Rodriguez, the former vice president, will meet with our U.S. ambassador, Laura Dogu. So we'll see how this is going to go. But the message is going to be pretty clear, right? We need you to release the political prisoners, keep law and order in the country, but begin to, I guess, free up your oil and gas to outside interests, which I think she's on the same page in. She needs to get that revenue in.
Correct. So people, what they really, really want is the release of all the political prisoners. So far, more than 300 have been released, but they've been moving very slowly when it comes to the release of political prisoners. Now, something that has been very significant is the fact that they're promising a general amnesty for everyone, meaning exonerating everyone during the period of political violence stemming from 1999 under Hugo Chavez to the present day. And this is very important because sometimes we want to say, well, they're free now. They're not free. They're released from prisons like Helicoide, where they have been tortured, but they still face a lot of legal implications and they face restrictions. So what Venezuelan people want is their full freedom, like as we know it, liberty. You're not accused of anything. There are no restrictions. And we still have hundreds of more Venezuelans detained in these centers.
So Andrea Linares is with us from Fox Noticias talking about what's happening in Venezuela. So what has changed on the ground since the capture?
So a lot has changed, but Venezuelans have mixed feelings. I'm going to give you some examples. Recently, Delcy Rodriguez saying we're going to loosen government control over the energy sector, which has been one of the requests, right, from Washington in order to attract foreign investment. We did start with the slow release of some political prisoners. As a result, we have seen as well on the economic perspective, meat prices starting to drop. But people are a bit confused because inside Venezuela, you still see billboards that say, free Nicolás Maduro, bring him back home. So people are a little skeptical. They don't want this to be just an oil agreement.
Because you don't do that if she didn't want it.
Right. They don't want this to be an oil agreement, but a continuation of Maduro. That's why they are skeptical. And there's still repression taking place inside the country. So we are seeing, for example, President Donald Trump also saying we're going to open up the airspace. We're going to resume flights. American Airlines saying we will be doing this shortly. So this is good. It's good for business. It's good for travel. People still need to be careful because the situation is very unstable inside Venezuela. But these are significant steps, but people want more.
So yesterday, the foreign minister had a chance to meet Felix Paciencia, a prior foreign minister who also served the country's ambassador to China, will travel to Washington in the coming days to serve as Venezuela's diplomatic representative. So that'll be good. Rodriguez's brother, nobody seems to, who cares about democracy, thinks he should be involved. He is Jorge Rodriguez, but he's involved in all these meetings too. He's like the speaker of in Venezuela. Do you have do you think these people have the ability to understand they're going to have to run for election, have the ability to give people back their rights? Do you think they're capable of doing that?
The fear is that they are experts deceiving others, deceiving other leaders. That's why they've lasted there so long. So right now,
here's the one thing. Everyone knew exactly who they were. They were socialist communists affiliated with the dregs of the world, the Irans, the Russias, the Chinas, and the Hezbollah. Are they going to pretend as if they weren't comfortable running in those circles?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question. Are they doing just enough to appease the Trump administration and run out the clock? Or are we going to actually see free and fair elections soon? I spoke with President-elect of Venezuela, Edmundo González Urrutia, yesterday, and he said we need these elections to take place sooner than later. We're talking about months. We can't wait longer.
Do you think they could? And you know the fear, the administration has. So let's say They go in there, they have an election.
You're referring to chaos, erupting instability.
Chaos erupt, and they become guerrillas instead of citizens. They don't wait to win the next election. They refuse to follow the election results. And they worry about the others melting into the woods, becoming an Iraqi-like insurgency.
We don't want that to happen because you could have easily lost an opportunity. Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently said in a hearing, success is not a guarantee here, but we are seeing a glimmer of hope. And I do think they know what they're doing. The administration knows what they're doing. You cannot have this erupt into chaos. But I also understand that people want these elections sooner than later. Congressman Carlos Jimenez also said it. This needs to happen in a matter of months. Yeah. So that's the difficult part, right? Trying to figure out when's the best moment. But it needs to be stable. Yeah,
stabilization, economic recovery, reconciliation, and then transition. The two countries yesterday reached a deal to export $2 billion worth of Venezuelan crude to the U.S. I thought it was interesting. Wall Street Journal brought up an interesting idea, and that is take some of the revenue that you're selling, since we have so much control over their oil right now, and give it to every single Venezuelan. You have a way of hitting everyone. If they is there a situation where they have checking accounts, or where they can go into towns and give them some money so they can start feeling some benefits, afford some food?
But you need to be able to trust in the institutions. And right now, the institutions, you don't have to trust in them. Yeah. So I don't think it's that easy.
Last thing, I want to tap into your knowledge of Cuba. We saw Russian planes provide supplies. We're pressuring Mexico to stop with the oil. Venezuela has already cut off their oil. The president says, I'm talking to him about a deal, but essentially the deal has to be goodbye Castro's, goodbye government. We understand that the devaluation of their currency, the situation there is extremely dire. What could you tell us?
The situation in Cuba right now is on the brink of a total collapse. As you noted, they are running dry. They're not receiving oil from Mexico. Mexico basically stopped their shipments. Claudia Sheinbaum, Mexico's president, said we're going to assist them with other things, like, for example, like basic goods and food, because we don't want this humanitarian crisis. I don't think anyone wants a humanitarian crisis, but the fact of the matter is, look, Cuba was receiving, before Maduro's capture, oil from Venezuela. And what was Cuba doing with this? They were reselling about 60% of that oil to Asia for millions of dollars, money that was being held or is being held in offshore accounts. That money, those resources, were never making it back to the Cuban people. So now they are really being cut off. They're really feeling the pressure. The big question is, and that's why some people say, well, we don't think anything's going to happen. So many U.S. politicians have been wanting this moment, right? The collapse of the regime. They've attempted this and it has failed. And somehow the regime has managed to stay in power for 67 years. Why is it different now? Well, I think if people are brave enough and they're so fed up that they actually take to the streets, pressure this government, when I say this government, the regime in Cuba, to actually strike some sort of deal, whatever that may look like, with the United States, and perhaps that's how you can achieve the change. But for now, the hardship, that's what the people are facing. I don't know if you've seen the video. There's just trash bags piled up everywhere. Trash collectors say it's because the trucks don't have fuel. There are also gas stations that will charge in U.S. dollars, and that's how people will find extra fuel for their vehicles, if they even have one. They don't even have fuel. They are facing shortages. Areas that did not previously experience blackouts, because it's nothing new. They have experienced blackouts in the past. Even those areas have blackouts for extended amount of time. If you have a refrigerator, obviously what happens? Your food spoils. So it's just like a domino effect. It's really bad. My fear is if we potentially could see a mass exodus at some point. I don't know if there's thoughts or conversation about this, how to deal with this if the situation gets that bad.
Because since the 60s, we expected the Castros to fall, the government Cuba to collapse.
They're waiting and it doesn't happen.
They tried briefly to bring them into the family of nations, and Trump put a stop to that. And I'm glad he has. Interesting time. My last question to you is there still a presence of China and Russia with Delcy Rodriguez? Are they still there?
I believe so.
And that means Hezbollah's there too.
That's
got to
so.
end
And
immediately.
Hezbollah has been present for many years within Venezuela. I found a hub to operate from within Venezuela to avoid sanctions. And that's how they also spread throughout the region in other areas like Nicaragua as well.
Yeah, Nicaragua is another terrible place only because of their communist leadership. Man, you have a lot to discuss. Andrea Linares on Fox Noticias. How do we get it?
You can find us on Fox Deportes at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, download the Fox Nation app, Fox One app. You can find us there at 5 p.m. and also our YouTube channel, Fox Noticias, at 4 p.m.